Do you think your region has been kind of left behind in California?
So yes, the Central Valley has absolutely been left behind other parts of the state. So as Southern California has grown, and also as the Bay Area has grown, if you look at where the state spends most of its money, it's in those areas. I can remember when I was working in the Assembly as a staffer, whenever the delegation from Southern California would be recognized, it was basically 25% of the Assembly members were from the Southern California, or really the Los Angeles County region. 25% is from Los Angeles County alone. And so when LA County would need a freeway, it would just happen. You know, the legislature would appropriate funds and the freeway would get built. But in the Central Valley, you know, if you look at population wise, at the time in the late 90s, we were only a couple million people in that 8-county region. And so it was difficult to get adequate resources to that region. Now, it always hasn't been like that. If you go back 100 years ago, 120 years ago, the state of California, the populations were more evenly spread out. But Southern California being such an amazing place to live, we've seen those areas explode in population the last 100 years, as well as the Bay Area, where the Central Valley continued to be agrarian. And so all these factors combined have really left the Central Valley behind when it comes to our fair share of dollars. And so I think today there's great opportunities to invest again in more hydroelectric facilities, more storage facilities, which will help benefit the entire state. One of the things that I've noticed that really has started changing over the last 20 years is in the Central Valley, small farmers who maybe only farmed 40 acres or 60 or 100 acres, they were able to get by farming just individually and bringing in different labor groups to help during the harvest time. But it's getting so difficult for small farmers to even be able to break even because labor costs have gone up so much, costs of chemicals, the ability to access water. What we're seeing more and more right now is more corporate farms coming in, and they're beginning to kind of dominate the landscape. So one thing which is troubling to me is it's important for some of these small-scale farm operations to be able to operate, because really that was the backbone of the United States 150 years ago, were these small farming operations. So cost of everything is making it difficult for small-scale entrepreneurs, small-scale farmers to be able to operate in the Central Valley.
Now, was there a time you saw these small farms that they were getting bought out or they were going under?
When I first came to the Central Valley, to Fresno County, I can remember seeing these small farms as, you know, a young teenager at that time, individuals that were growing figs, and now I don't think anybody grows figs anymore. People who had, they were raisin farmers, you know, and they were on 100 acres. And actually, my wife's family had a small farm in Selma, and I don't believe they're able to farm that farm any longer because it was just too small. So I consider it short 35 years that I've been in the Central Valley, I've seen this change happen, and it's very concerning.
And what was it like before? What was the benefit of having these farms?
You know, one thing that's amazing, when you are a farmer is really, it can be thankless work at times, but it's also very satisfying work, because with your own hands, you're able to be out in the field, raising a family, teaching kids about what hard work is all about. But again, when you were able, on a 40, 60, or 100 acre farm, when you were able to raise a family of 5 or 6, whether you had cows, chickens, you know, selling the different produce on your farm at market, being able to raise a family like that was very impactful, because again, some of the smartest, some of the most hardest working people are farmers that I know. And so seeing corporate farms kind of springing up now, taking over and occupying the small farm space is concerning, because we're missing out on producing more very productive, the next generation of productive individuals. So I've seen it with my own eyes, and it breaks my heart in a way to see that happening in the Central Valley.
So those values, essentially the values of working with the family and working hard, those values are kind of going away in a sense.
One thing with farmers and farming families is they work so hard, and the value of hard work, the value of just honest day wages, working hard during the day, coming home dead tired, being able to sleep through the night, or being a kid that's going to school knowing that you got to get up in the morning and do your chores before you go off to school, sometimes meaning you got to get up at 4:30 in the morning to milk cows. All of that has made our community a very strong place. So with a lot of these small farms going away, we're losing part of our heritage. And I look at the people who live in the Central Valley today, and they are hardworking people as well. But what the agrarian element has created, I never want to lose that. And we still are very much a farming region, but a lot of the small farmers are no longer able to compete with the rising costs and how expensive it is to buy chemicals and just farm today. It's become very difficult. So right now the state of California is facing an energy crisis, and electricity costs are going through the roof. A lot of people aren't aware that in Fresno County, we have some of the largest hydroelectric facilities in the state of California. One of them is the Helms Project, which is managed by PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric Company. That project came online in the 1980s, and it has 3 huge turbines which are in the middle of a mountain. And that project moves water between 2 lakes. And that Helms project can produce 1,212 megawatts of power, which is an amazing amount of power. We have another project, which is a series of 5 different small power generation facilities called Big Creek, the Big Creek Hydro projects. And Powerhouse 1, which is literally in a community called Big Creek, was built about 120 years ago. But between these 5 different systems, Southern California Edison can produce 1,000 megawatts of power. These are 2 different systems of facilities, and we have many more in Fresno County, but to put this into perspective, the only nuclear facility we have in California is Diablo Canyon. And you might recall that Governor Newsom was going to shut Diablo Canyon down by 2026, but he changed his mind because he recognized if Diablo Canyon went down, it could really have serious implications to our grid. Diablo Canyon produces 2,200 megawatts of power. The 2 hydro facilities that I've just mentioned can produce more power than Diablo Canyon when they're operating at maximum power, and we have other hydro facilities in addition to those 2 systems in Fresno County. I share that because a lot of people are nervous about nuclear, but hydro produces power very cleanly. When you build hydro, not only do you create more water storage, but you have an opportunity to create power, which California sorely needs. So there's a great opportunity in the next 5 to 6 years working with the federal government, working with the state to build more storage and create more affordable power right here in California. The question is, will our policymakers have the will to see that vision too?